where JSession ID is getting generated. When JSession ID is there, typically it will not verify authentication as well as authorization. So what exactly our point was? Typically, whenever you have JSession ID in place and framework will not verify any authentication as well as any authorization, we can inject a script which is from outside. We can inject the script from outside and we can influence the data. That is what we discussed. But whenever we enable the CSRF, that time, even if you inject any script, okay, it is not going to impact the data. So CSRF is a vulnerability. When you have CSRF should be there, cross-site request forgery. So you need to enable that whenever you have any cross-site. So what exactly the solution, how it is implemented, I have not explained that. Today I'm going to explain that. Before I proceed further, anyone, as of now, any questions, anyone? As of now, anyone has any questions? I've shared the code to everyone. So anyone anyone have any questions here so far?
Sir, I couldn't run that program.
What error you are getting?
I am not able to log in details in the registration page, and I am not able to do any other things.
Sir, my question is, what error you are getting? Are you getting any error?
I'm getting login screen.
In login screen, did you register? There is
Yeah,
a registration option is there. You need to register, right? And did you created the database?
I created a database. Database automatically created, no?
By default, is the database will automatically create, sir? No, right? You need to create a schema, right? In ticket booking application, if you go to the application.properties,
yeah,
you need to take care boot DB. This is what I taken here.
Yeah, I had created a database in other older schema I had taken.
So you have taken schema in older schema and you connected and the data table is getting created.
No, that I didn't check.
Kindly check, sir. It will not, I mean, it will never have any impact. Okay. By default, when you run, by default, you need to, I mean, if you follow the same configuration, you need to create a boot DB schema. In boot DB schema, you should see internally, there are two models, user registration. That's which is a employee.java and employee service.java. So employee.java is nothing but it is typically in DAO, employee DAO implementation. So insert into employee. This is a data where it is completely prepared with database, JDBC. Okay. As well as it is going to take care of employee service, and here you have users table. You should have users. Yesterday, whatever the users I created. So what is the user I have taken yesterday? And Avinash or Akhilesh, yes?
Yeah.
So where you need to see your data. Username is equal to Akhilesh.
Sir, here enabled column is required to create in the users table.
Yes, enabled column is man. You don't need to do that, ma'am. Actually, my code will take care of that. Actually, enable means it's one. Okay.
No, we need to create that column name in the table, right?
No need, ma'am. By default, it is okay. Your intention was, do I need to create a table? Is that correct?
Yes, yes. Actually, I also run that code. So it is asking like to create a table, users table and employee table both.
This is what you are seeing, right, madam? Schema. You are able to see the schema in the same folder. You run this code, create table, create users, create authorities. 3 is table you need to create.
Okay, sir. Got it. I didn't open that.
Okay. I think you need to open that.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe my mistake. Maybe it's an admin role. Everything is admin role. By default, it is going. So I have given a schema actually here. Because this is, I wrote in a Spring MVC format. It's not Spring Boot. Spring MVC plus Spring Boot. Where I have not used JPA here. That's why you need to manually create. That's why I have given a schema here. You need to create tables, employee table, users table, authorities table. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, got it, sir. We
It's my
created
bad. Maybe I need to
employee
explain.
table.
Yeah, it's my bad. Maybe I didn't explain. I'm extremely apologize. Maybe I thought I have explained, but I didn't explain. Maybe you can try again. Okay.
Yeah, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And now,
Sir,
how,
one more doubt.
yes, please. Go ahead.
For the yesterday session, like I'm just confusing about the J session ID. So whenever the user is logged in the, if the account is active status, then only J session ID will create it, right? So
By default, account is active or account is not active is no use, madam. It is our choice only. Okay. This is what you're referring, right?
okay.
No, is that what you're referring? Whenever account is active means, are you referring this one? That is what your question?
No, the concept of J session ID is
Okay, right. I'll explain. Okay. You're not referring this enabled flag, right? Yes. So the concept of J session ID is, what I want is single sign-on I need. What is a single sign-on? Forget about J session ID, forget about everything, ma'am. I'm talking in a normal English. Okay. I developed a web application. Okay. And I want single sign-on. What is single sign-on? One time only I need to log in. Only for the first time only I should log in. Right? After I log in, it should not ask me in the same session. Like I explained Gmail, right? First time I opened Gmail, it is asking me username and password. Correct? After that, in the same session, okay, does it ask again and again username and password? No, right? Only it is going to ask the username and password only once. That is single sign-on. Okay. So Gmail is a typical example for that, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, to implement the single sign-on, what Spring Boot is doing is, first time, how login page is going to come? There is no active session. There is no J session ID. By default, when I open a browser, J session ID will be null. Okay. It will prompt the login page. Whenever we enter username as well as password, Spring Boot will verify is that username, is that password is correct or wrong. If it is wrong, J session ID will not be generated. If it is right, J session ID will be generated on that session. Okay. And any request you made, now J session ID is generated, right? That is given to browser. You can see that in the browser. I explained, I shown you right yesterday. I shown you in the browser, right? Any request you made from the browser, the same J session ID is also sent to Tomcat or Spring Boot. Whenever J session ID is there, it will not check for authentication. It will not check for any other authentication. It will skip the authentication. So that, because I already verified, why I need to verify every time, each and every time? I only generated J session ID and I'm giving J session ID. You are going to get that. So I'll not verify again and again. That is the concept of J session ID. Is that clear, ma'am?
Yes, sir. So once the user is login, it is satisfied. So it is created the J session ID, right?
Correct. Correct.
So when so the user is attacking CSRF, like the code is hidden variables using that. So it is using the J session ID, right?
Right, madam. CSRF is okay. Already J session ID is created. Okay. That's what I shown you, right? On an active session. Maybe I'll run the application. I'll show you. Okay. First of all, I'll run the application. I'll show you again.
So in the active status of the account only, so the attacker will use the
correct. When the session is active, that's what I mentioned in the right. Log into net banking. Verify your account balance. Check this button. First of all, I need to log in. J session ID will be generated. That time only my CSRF attack is going to happen. If at all, if I didn't log in, my CSRF attack is not going to happen at all. Right?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear to everyone? Is that clear to everyone? Any other follow-up questions on this?
Yes, clear.
Okay. Anyone, please don't mind.
Sir, one like if
Please.
CSRF is enabled, what will happen? So
What
in
is that,
the
madam?
code it will be disabled, right?
What is that?
CSRF in the 40th line is disabled. So
Now
if we enable that line, so what will happen?
That is what I'm going to explain now. I've not done that actually.
Okay,
Because
sir.
of lack of time, I didn't explain, right, ma'am? I have not done that actually. Now I enable CSR. What is going to happen? I'm going to explain now. Okay. I have not done that actually.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Till now, I explained when CSRF is disabled, a cross-site script is injected and it is entering the data into my database. And I enable that. And I observed that I got an unauthorization issue, forbidden issue. But what happens really in the background when CSRF is enabled? What happens in detail? I'm going to explain. Okay. Let me run the code. I'll show you the code. I'll run the code. You'll understand clearly. So run as springboot app. Akhilesh, I'm going to take it up. Yeah, application is started. So localhost :8080. Akhilesh and Akhilesh. So, sir, whenever you get this error, right, /welcome. You need to give /welcome. Okay. Sometimes it will get it actually. Now, I'm seeing show employees. I logged in, right, as of now. So let me remove the CSRF values. Select the star from employees. I'll remove the values, guys. Delete from boot db.employee where emp id in 100 comma 10,001 comma 10,002. I'm deleting all the invalid entries which are created. Okay, totally 6 entries are there. So show employees. You'll see in the network tab, get employees. I'm clicking on show employees, get employees. So here, you see CSR, you see here J session ID B90. You remember B90. Okay. This is J session ID will be generated. See, what is it actually? B90. Okay. Now I'll clear the console. I'll click on add employee. Okay. I'm going to click on add employee. It's active session. And here you see here same B90. Saw that? B90. Active session is there already. Now what I'm going to do is, let me CSRF, I'm going to take it up. Okay. I'll take F12. Surprise, surprise, see what this does. It came to login page, right? Now add new employee. It is immediately taking a new J session ID. It's not taking that. And if I see here, show employees, it's also logging. Akhilesh. If I log in, show employees, you didn't saw any CSRF came, right? Even though I logged in, even though I injected, right? F12. Now this time, what is your show employees? B536, right? Now I am injecting. Okay, I'm injecting. This is B536. But here, whenever I inject, so I will insert this is a common code, right? Show employees. Now I am adding an employee. So here you see 536, correct, right? Now I'm adding 100 Vijay Kumar. I'm adding 100 Vijay Kumar. I'm adding. Okay, it's a valid entry, right? I'm submitting 100 Vijay Kumar came, but you see here inside payload, you will see here CSRF token. You're able to see that CSRF token. So what is that? What happens when CSRF is enabled is, by default, security side, there is a fix is given by some of our developers only. And what they have done in that fix is nothing but here inside that fix, all our JSP pages right here. In every JSP page, we implemented JSTL, JavaScript tag library, taglib. Inside the security tags, implementation was there, tag library was there, and which is security tags, which is adding CSRF inputs. This is what I need to add. In every JSP page, we need to add this CSRF input. every JSP page. You see here, every JSP page, you need to have this CSRF input. In login page, we don't require, right? In menu.jsp, CSRF input. In registration, we don't need require, but anyhow, we are using CSRF input. In welcome.jsp, we have CSRF input. What is the meaning of CSRF input is? Please listen carefully, guys. Please listen carefully. Whenever I click on add employee, okay, this browser is authenticated browser, which is having valid JS session ID. Okay. Whenever I land the page, it will generate a token. It will generate a particular token. So by default, when this page is landed, it will generate a token. And whenever we submit the data, okay, what framework will verify is the page at the time of landing is the same as the token at the time of submitting. Is both are same or not, it will verify. Why it should verify is, I am injecting a script from outside. I am going to inject a script from outside that does not have CSRF token, right? CSRF will be coming only if the JSP is rendered from our authenticated browser only. This is the code I wrote. Okay. In my JSP code, I wrote this, which will generate a token. And at the time of submit, along with JS session ID, some other token also will come. That's what I've shown you in the browser, right? Okay. I've shown you in the browser, right? CSRF input. So at the time of landing, whatever the token is there, and at the time of submit, whatever the token is there, both are same or not, it will verify. If both are same, it's a valid browser. If not same, invalid browser, then it will stop the authentication. It will stop the request. So once someone just now asked a question, sir, when we enable the CSRF, what is going to happen? Okay. We are writing a code to generate a token, that is XSRF token, we call that as. Okay. At the time of landing any JSP page, a token will be generated. And at the time of submit also, the same token will be submitted. Just to make sure that is this request is coming from valid browser or not. Is this request is coming from valid browser or not? That is what it is going to cross check. Okay, is this request is coming from a valid browser or not? How to come to know? A browser which is injected, which is typically having, okay, a browser which is injected. This doesn't have any CSRF token, right? So which is not injecting anything here, but whereas this is injecting a CSRF token. So the logic is, at the time of landing a page, it will generate a token. At the time of submit also, it will verify the token along with the JS session ID, which will identify which is going to identify is the request is coming from my same browser or a different browser. That is the typical nature of CSRF. Okay. Is it clear, guys? The solution which is a CSRF is providing.
Vijay, one quick question. So for the same page can be accessed from different places, right?
How can you access? You cannot access, right? Unless until you log in.
Okay. So for different user IDs, it will be different.
It doesn't matter, right? The different user ID or same user ID doesn't matter. Okay.
Okay.
Is it authenticated or not? That you only will see.
Okay.
So, if I copy that the same URL, what you copied there in the new tab, what will happen? Like it will use JSession ID that time, or it just don't use JSession ID at all because of we enabled CSRF token.
JSession ID is there still. Okay.
I think I just checked the replication look to me.
Sorry.
No other question.
Can you speak bit loud? Actually, the question who is asking, please.
No, I think, are you able to hear me okay? No?
No, not you, sir. Someone is also, no, okay. I think you can go ahead now. Yeah. So along with JSession ID, CSRF is also used. JSession ID is first and CSRF is also next. Both the combinations. JSession ID is for single sign-on. CSRF is cross-site request browser.
Okay. But every cookie, so the cookie have a two fields. One is a JSession ID, which is common across the user session and all.
Correct.
And on top of that, every click on the page, if the CSR enabled and the tag is enabled, the token will be generated.
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Any other question, guys?
Sir, one confusion like for the JSession ID. Yesterday in the session, the JSession ID, if we hit the CSRF URL also, it will be the session ID is same in that case.
Session ID will be same. Correct.
Here in the CSRF token, while it is checking, so while landing the page and it is submitting, it will be different.
No, what happens is it is kill the session. It is kill the old session. It is not carrying the same session. If CSRF is disabled, we are able to see in the same browser, same JSession ID, right? So when CSRF is enabled, it is clearing the session. It is generating a new session. New login page came altogether.
For every JSP, it is creating a new session.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Is it clear? Now,
One question.
yes, please.
Yeah, it will kill the session or it will just create a new session?
It will kill the session. It will create a new session whenever cross-site request is accessed.
Okay, means from the first tab we can't access.
Correct.
If second one is hit.
Everything, all the sessions will be killed.
Okay.
It's a good question. Yes. Any other? Okay. Now, sir, first of all, now I got a picture here. Now, what I need to do here, do I need to enable or do I need to disable? In my coming back to my original code. Sir, I'm coming back to my original code. Do I need to enable or do I need to disable?
We need to enable.
By default, whenever it is a middleware, Spring Boot is a middleware. It can connect with any front end. Only the problem comes is when my front end as well as middleware both are running under one port number. My UI, my middleware, both are running under same port number. This problem will come. Assuming that if my front end is Angular, my middleware is Spring Boot, the JSession ID which is generated in Angular is different. The JSession ID which is generated in the Tomcat or Spring Boot is different. First of all, the problem will never come. The problem comes is only in a Spring MVC with Spring Boot, where my front end is on 8080. My middleware is also on 8080. I no need to enable CSRF. In case of it is interacting with Angular or React. When the problem will comes, if the same JSession ID is shared, First of all, JSession ID itself will not come. Angular will run on Node.js, React will run on Node.js, and Java will run on Tomcat. The JSession ID collision itself is not there. So always we need to disable. You no need to enable. Only you need to enable whenever you have a Spring MVC plus Spring Boot. Both are running under the same port number. Your UI as well as your middleware. Both are running under the same port. Make sense?
Are you saying in case of monolithic application, we should use the enable the CSRF?
It's
And
not
in case of-
monolithic. Any application.
Okay.
Maybe one of the example monolithic, correct? Okay. Maybe
Okay.
I'm using a Spring Boot and microservices architecture. Okay. My front end is also a JSP. My middleware is also JSP. I mean Spring Boot, Java. With a microservice architecture also I can do that. Okay. So point is your front end and your middleware on the same port number, same JSession ID or not. That is what we need to find it out. But in a real typical full stack world where Angular or React as front end, Spring Boot as a middleware, this problem will not be there. Make sense? So we need to disable. That means no need to generate a token. No need to append the token at the time of landing the page. No need to add the token at the time of submitting. We don't require that extra step. We need to disable the CSRF. We no need write. We don't require that actually. So that is a clear example of CSRF.
So why do we write this code if we are disabling this?
Just to explain you. I'm trying to explain you. You no need to write. Even though if you don't write the code, that's fine. No issues. Okay. I need to teach you, right, guys? That's why I'm writing this code. And moreover, if CSRF disable is not there, it will be enabled. And it will unnecessarily generate a token and all those things. I don't want that actually. So that's why it's better to write CSRF.disable so that CSRF part will not be there actually in this case. But even though you don't write a code, framework will generate an extra token and will keep that and will never be matching. And it is useless dirty code in that case. Okay.
And who is responsible for generating this JSession ID? As it is generated in front end, back and middleware also.
JSession ID is responsible for every runtime, every app server to achieve single sign-on. Not only Tomcat, WebLogic, WebSphere, IIS, JBoss, Wildfly, as well as Node.js also will generate JSession. Any web application looking for single sign-on, it should generate the JSession ID.
Sir, one real quick question that is like, for example, take a scenario that we have two components and one component is making a API call to another component. So in that case, because it's almost in that case, actually, there is no session ID and tokens come into the picture because it's just API call. Right. So this whole thing comes into play only if that is a UI based, browser based.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct.
No. There again,
Even in the browser based, but browser to middleware through REST API also possible because I did that only, right? In CSRF example, I'm what I did here, browser to REST API. It's not browser to controller.
Yeah.
You got it right. Whatever your I'm
Yeah. You made a REST API.
You made a REST API. That's what I told. Someone asked
No,
me, is it only for monolithic application? I told it's not only monolithic. My point is front end as well as middleware on the same port number. Yeah. Any other question, guys, so far?
Sir, can you disable it and show it once execute the program? If possible.
Sure, definitely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable that. Okay. Now I will run the code. Now I'm going to take localhost colon 8080. A login page came. Akhilesh is the password. I need to give welcome, sir. Sometimes it is not picking. You need to give welcome. Okay. Now let me close this browser. F12. Sir, the one who is asking the question, kindly observe, sir. Okay. I'm clicking on show employees. Get employees. 47F8. Remember this. 47F8. Add employee. Same 47F8. Now, what I'm going to do is, here I'm going to inject the script. This is my script. I'm going to inject the script and have an active session 47F8. So 47F8, I got the data. Now I'm injecting the script. CSR of test3 came. Outside script, which is injecting. If I want to see here, I'll click on show employees. This is a different browser, second browser, 47F8. This is authenticated browser. Both JSession IDs are same. Is it clear?
Got it, sir.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys?
So for to enable the CSRF, we no need to write that CSRF.
Correct, madam. No need to write a disable part. It will by default enable. Correct. So you can enable only in case of, as I mentioned, both your front end and middleware runs on the same port. Mansa, is that clear, right?
Yes, sir. Now it is also Spring MVC and Spring Boot. Right?
Correct. You should not think Spring MVC, Spring Boot. Even if it comes with ASPX and with IAS. .NET Web API also same. My point is, don't include, as we are Java programmers, I gave you context actually. In interviews.
It's the same port, we no need.
Correct. Interviews, your front end and middleware on the same port. Where JSession ID collision. That is going to come.
So why the port concept comes here? What is that to do with the JSession ID?
By default, Tomcat is running the JSession ID. Okay, Tomcat is generating. The port comes is, I am using one port for one application, another port for another application. Two Tomcats are there, right? Two Tomcats will have two different JSessions, right? My port is in the sense, my entire CSR of example, my front end is 8080 only, my middleware is 8080 only, right? Isn't it? Sir, you got it?
In the sense that both front end and the middleware is
Correct.
both handled by a same container.
Same container.
Then
This is what my port. Yeah. This is what meaning of port actually. Correct. Any other questions, guys?
Vijay, I have one question.
Please.
So this JSession, whatever we are creating, it is with Tomcat or it is with the user?
Anything, any browser. Sorry, not sorry. Any web server. I'm sorry. Any web server, either JBoss or Wildfly or anything. Not only with Tomcat. It's an app server responsibility to generate a unique ID to maintain single sign-on. That's it.
And will it impact anything like if we have something in caching? Okay, if we have implemented some type of a caching, will this CSRF will impact that caching?
No. By default, CSRF is own. This is single sign-on. Forget about CSRF. Are you asking CSRF or single sign-on?
No. CSRF.
CSRF is only for whenever a page is landed, I'll generate a token. When I submit a page, I'll submit a token. That is no way related to cache. Just to identify, is the request coming from a authenticated session or a cross-site script? That is the only point. Nothing related to cache.
Okay, got it. Thanks, Vijay.
Thank you. Any other questions, guys? Right. Now, my next topic is, sir, we entered username and password in the browser. But how it works with Postman? How can I send using Postman? How to work with real-time scenario? Maybe that's extended topic. Till now, username is user, password is generated, that I typed on the browser only. Username is admin, password is admin, that I also typed on the browser only. In this case, Naresh Shetty admin, Naresh Shetty guest also typed on the browser only. How it make it work with Postman? Already some people asked me a question. I told that I'm going to explain. Am I right? So it's going to take 30 minutes for me to explain that. How to work with all the environments, not only browser. Why browser into come into picture? What is that internal structure? All those things I will explain in tomorrow class. And tomorrow I'll also go to next topic of dynamic authentication as well as dynamic authorization. That's the fourth scenario I'm going to explain. That is a database I'll take and I'll explain that. Okay. So I'll stop early today and we'll see tomorrow. Thanks everyone. And kindly practice CSRF and let me know if any questions. Okay. Thank you. Thanks everyone. Have a great day.
Recording stopped.